What's up, everybody? I'm fading in. Fade from black, not fade to black. Fading into this world to talk about some random nonsense. And maybe you'll join me. People are very interesting. I just never-ending fascination with people, and so many different things to talk about with people, but I'm going to start with trust, because it's something that was on the top of my mind. This idea of who can we trust, Can you trust your friends? Can you trust your family? I find myself trusting people too much, and I've wrestled with whether or not that's a good or bad thing, but it's done me well. I've been ripped off by friends before, and I've had people wrong me and lie to me and steal from me, and I've welcomed them back into my life with open arms. In fact, one person who wronged me the most severely, we're good friends, and we hang out all the time now. I hadn't seen him in like 10 years, and it's all about getting rid of that animosity and letting go of that feeling of resentment you have towards people that have done you wrong. When we talk about trust, we can also talk about, do you trust a person's judgment? Because that's a major issue. A lot of us have had friends, and those of us who grew up with, still have friends that we had when we were in high school, you remember the friends that you grew away from because they were irresponsible. Some of us did. I made the choice to avoid people who would drink and drive, and avoid people who got themselves into a lot of trouble, because I didn't want that to reflect on me, and for me to find myself surrounded by people who are causing problems. It's like they say, you should always hang out with people superior to you in intellect and insight. And I just realized that I'm sitting here on my kneeling bench by the pond, and I just glanced over and realized that I'm sitting about 3 feet away from a dead animal that's rotting in my garden. I only saw it because of the large amount of flies on it, and I can see a little bit of fur out of the top of the dirt there. That would disturb a lot of people. They would have to get up and probably leave, because it's kind of disgusting. But I'm going to take that as a point for my subject in my video here. I don't know what it is. Looks like it's a squirrel, because I can see an ear and part of the back. Pretty nasty. I hope it doesn't distract me too much. Death, it's a nasty thing to some people, but we have to reformulate the way that we think about dying. When we see death, we're always disgusted by corpses and stuff, but why? It's just matter. It's just blood. It's just guts. What is it that's so disgusting about it? It's the whole grossness of the whole matter. But yeah, anyway. I wanted to go back to trust before I forget. Trusting people's judgment is one thing. Now, trusting people's judgment on ideas and theories and stuff is a completely different ballpark. We want to believe that we can trust people who seem to be intelligent, and that's kind of it's a difficult proposition, because some of the people who are the best and the wisest in their fields are omitting many things that they're not aware of, and it's not always purposeful. That's what I want to get at. We as a society are naturally suspicious for some reason of one another, and we always think that people are trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Anybody who says something that contradicts what we think is a troll or a liar or a fool, and it makes it difficult to have a rational conversation. There are very few subjects which people can rationally discuss and have very different opinions and not get upset at one another over at one time or another. But when we find a good author that we really believe in, that really seems to have some good points, that author might be so right in so many regards, but there's just one thing that maybe doesn't resonate. But rather than acknowledge that, the person will say, well, that must be true too, and lump it in with the rest of the stuff. This isn't just with books. I mean, this happens with everything. Anytime a scientific theory comes out where there's one piece that doesn't quite fit, they just make it fit quite often. And anytime there's a religious system of belief where a person, everything works, God could be this and everything works out, and except for this one part that just doesn't work, but we'll just remove it or ignore it. My belief is that an all-encompassing understanding has to stem from a consistent changing of one's ideas and opinions, but we have to grasp onto something. So you have to have some sort of a life preserver in the sea. And some people need a boat, not just a life preserver. The problem with the boat is that you miss the waves. And I guess you can take that for what you will. But, there's a lot less of the ocean impact on you when you're in a boat. But at the same time, you miss a lot of your life, and you're not submerged either. If you're in a life preserver, you're halfway in the water. I always keep my feet wet. In every subject, though. Let me take Christianity for an example. A person who analyzes Christianity, realizes and decides that for them it's not true, that it's invalid, will often discard that, put their Bible on the shelf and be done with it, and just refuse to even acknowledge it or to discuss the issue, because to them it's not worth the time. My thought on this is different. I'm not a Christian, and I don't think I could ever be a Christian because I don't believe in worshiping man as a god. Even if that man was claimed to be God's son, it's all nonsense to me. But I don't cast it out, and I try not to disrespect it too much, because I understand that each person has to grasp onto something different. And no matter how much I might try to express that it's not against the religion, it's just against the way that the religion is against everyone else, in the sense that unless you take Jesus as your Savior, you can't go to heaven. If that wasn't part of Christianity, then it wouldn't be an issue for me. I wouldn't even probably, I might be even more likely to look at Christianity. In fact, if that one very issue, I think there might be a lot more Christians if it wasn't for that one aspect of having to take Jesus as your Savior, not knowing who Jesus was or whether he fooled the people of his time. And that comes down to trusting people. And that's kind of back to the square one here, is that how much do you trust an author who writes a book if one thing doesn't agree? And how much can we trust 2,000-year-old belief system, 3,000-year-old belief system, 4,000-year-old belief system that has changed so much over the time that we don't really understand exactly what it is? And there are many of us out here who are trying to pick it apart and understand the details. I have a Bible, and I have the Bhagavad Gita, and I don't have a copy of the Quran, but I'd like to get one. Oh wait, I think I do actually. Anyway, I have various religious texts that help me to understand why people think the way they do, and that combined with common sense and research combined with modern science and technology and understanding who we are and where we come from in the sense of mechanics, we can develop a much broader view of everything. Why does everything have to be so simplified or over complex? It just kind of is what it is. Everything we do is a reflection of what we've learned, a combination of what we've learned, what we'd like to see happen, the influences on our past from people, events, our suspicions, our dogmas, and what we expect out of the future. And that last one, what we expect out of the future, is I think the biggest issue we need to realize is that we're all working towards a better future. And we all want to see it work for everyone. And there are a few people out there who mess it up for everyone, but I think most of us are on the same path. We're all just seeking happiness. Whether or not happiness is a permanently attainable state, whether enlightenment exists or satori or any of these names and labels we put on experience, in the end, here we are, still. We're still having to face the same issues, and we're still the same people. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. I know I can go on in my videos and really not get anything said. These benches are great. Just my very first meditation bench I made. The fish are enjoying the pond. They're looking for some food. Oh, watch out for the squirrel. I called him. That's the call. Call of the wild. I started out with, I think, 7 feeder goldfish that were really small, and then over a period of years they multiplied and got bigger and bigger. And I originally came out here to do this video. I wanted to talk about nature and kind of got sidetracked. But how we build these little natures, you know, in our backyard and rooftops and small gardens to remind us that life's not just about this, you know. Life's not just about working. And even those who we don't think very deeply about life, they do. They just do it in their own way. It's hard to remember that sometimes. We see people doing things we don't understand, and we say, why? Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Why not? As long as it harms no one. Harm no one and allow no one to harm you. If I could leave with that, my parting words would be that don't let people tread on you, you know. It's okay to stand up for yourself. We have to. You know. We are conscious beings, but we still have animal instincts to an extent that some people can't control, and when people walk away from conflict, sometimes it's the best solution. But sometimes it's better to stand your ground, because otherwise that person's going to trample all over someone else. And yeah, that's that. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day.